Welcome back, guys. When you see John Heffron in action, you'll start to realize a lot of us have plenty of things in common, especially when it comes to our childhood, and honestly, it's all pretty funny. He's going to be at Comedy Works Landmark this week, so we caught up with him for a couple of virtual minutes. John, thank you so much for joining us on Colorado and Company. It's such an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. And I got to say, I know for some of you left-brain people, you have a problem with my spacing. I get it. It's not perfectly centered. If I go this way, you see a door. If I go this way, oh, you see my new book. Anyway, but it's weird. You'd think after 5 or 6 months that I would figure out how to the webcam and where to put it. And I see you read, I see all that stuff back there. I don't read books, so I can't do I could show like a P90X DVD that I never worked out with. Maybe I should have my whole back of just workout videos that I never used.
That's what you need. And honestly, I can't read, so this is all a ruse.
Yeah.
That being said, John, you might not read, but you do spend a lot of time in radio, which is awesome. We hear that you've been working with the notorious Danny Bonaducci. So tell us a little bit about that. What's that like?
Well, that was a while ago. That was when I was a younger man. I did morning radio in Detroit for I don't even know, maybe 10 years. So there's still some songs that I hear today that trigger having to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to make sure I could get into the station early enough to play Hanson's Mbop. Now, you might not know, but Hanson was a group in the 90s that were young then. Now I think they all have 5 kids and 2 grandkids, which makes me sad.
Well, John, I have to say, this whole conversation is one of the greatest things that I love about your comedy and what you talk about, because you always relate back to family and even growing up, and that's something that is so relatable. Do you think it's interesting how many of us actually have so many of the same stories that you tell pretty regularly?
Well, yeah, because I'm really curious of what happens 10, 20 years from now with this COVID thing going on. That's if there's zero positive in any of this. But this is the first time that now everybody has gone through the same exact thing. Like in comedy, if you do a joke, if you're my age, somebody in their 20s might not get my references. But now everybody from 0 to whatever old you are has some of the same timestamps and the same things that have happened. So I'm curious to hear what those stories are, years from now, when kids were, having to be taught by their parents. Are you kidding? Like, I can't wait to hear, somebody in their 20s talking about that, because all that stuff is fascinating to me right now, how the family dynamic and what we're going through. Could you imagine being taught, I don't know, with your parents, as one of your parents run out behind the shed to get a White Claw to get ready for class? Like, it's insane to me.
That's the kind of parent I would be. I would be the kind of parent that needed a White Claw before class, 100%. That's awesome.
How would you not make it up? Like, I couldn't even imagine having to teach kids and stuff. I'd be like, just go online, check out YouTube, see what you learn.
Right, exactly. Well, you're coming to Denver, which we're so excited about. What have you noticed about coming to Denver that maybe you haven't seen in other towns?
You know what? Every time I'm in Denver, there's a crazy snowfall. Like, of course I've seen that in other towns, but it always amazes me. Like, you look outside and how much snow is this getting dumped, and just everybody shows up. How that doesn't, because I've been in Los Angeles for 20 some years, so I haven't got my winter, thing going. Like, I remember, I used to drive in the snow where there'd be snow in your car, and instead of wiping it off, I would just slam the door as hard as I could and just waiting for a little bit of a shift. But yeah.
That's fair. That's awesome. So you brought it up during this pandemic. Of course, everybody's
teaching themselves something new, learning something new. You brought up the books behind me. I'm teaching myself how to read. So have you learned anything new? Are you learning anything or doing anything cool during the pandemic?
Here's where I kind of get mad at myself. I've learned nothing. Like at one point I was like, I'm going to do 100 push-ups a day for 5, for this whole thing. And I'm going to be yoked, or I'm going to learn a new language. I've done nothing. So if this has taught me anything, I'm never going to use the excuse, only if I had more time, then I would. No, I wouldn't. I've realized that about myself. You can give me as much time ever. I'm not getting anything done.
John, thank you so much for joining us on Colorado and Company. We're so excited to have you here in Denver. We're really looking forward to seeing your show at Comedy Works.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Be as safe as humanly possible.
Don't miss John Heffron live and in person at the Comedy Works Landmark August 27th through the 29th. The show is also live streaming, so you can watch from the comfort of your own home. I did that last week, guys. It's so much fun. The show will stay online for 24 hours, so learn more about the showtimes and get tickets for in-person or virtual showtimes right now at comedyworks.com.